Hello.
Hello, Harold. How are you?
I'm good. Good. We're on Zion. We're on seven tonight.
Zion? Okay.
Okay. I
I don't see
think.
your boys anymore.
Oh, they well, Bayitzi's been davening at the Happy Minyan,
Ah,
and Chaim, he's been invited to a couple places. So
okay.
they're moving around.
Okay, they'll find their spot.
Yeah, they don't sit still. You've been davening at Yik?
Huh?
You've been davening at Yik?
Yeah.
But in the main show, right?
No, I don't know Minion, but they used to come in
Oh,
when
oh,
we were
oh,
finished. But when they come in, you know they're there.
oh. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah, Yitzi, lately he's got involved with the Happy Minyan. He wants to kind of revive it because one of the founders moved to Israel. So
Yes.
he's been busy there.
Yeah. It's a very interesting place. I
Yeah,
go there sometimes for some events.
yeah. It's interesting is an interesting word.
No, it's because it's very different than what
Yeah,
we're used
yeah,
to. But you know what? I think that they're onto something.
yeah. They definitely are, and they are happy.
Yeah. No, no.
They have, yeah. Hey, Kenny.
Hey boys,
Hello,
what's
Kenny.
going on?
It's all good. You going skiing? I heard there's a lot of snow up here.
Yeah, you can't get up there. The mountain's closed, so no.
Oh, real?
Waste of
Oh, what a waste. Well,
time. When
helicopter. You don't have helicopter access?
that's for you, man.
I've never I've never been on one and never want to go on one. I
You've
have
never been in a helicopter? It's fun.
no, no,
You
no,
never
no,
did the
no,
Alaska cruise in a helicopter to the glacier?
no, no, never did it.
Put it on your agenda. Put it on your bucket list. It's fun. You go up like. Do you like roller coasters?
Nope. Not at all. You know those beds, those motel beds you put a quarter in, they shake around?
I
I
used
don't
to
like that.
love those.
I don't like those either.
Did you ever have a water bed?
No.
What?
I take Dramamine. A friend of mine in college had one. I thought it was the weirdest thing because you
It
can't
is. You kind of
once
have
you're
to
in
be
it, you
stoned to enjoy the whole
yeah,
experience.
you can't get out of bed. You're
No, it's
always
very
like
hard.
flailing
Also, I don't know
around.
how, I mean, without being graphic, I don't know how couples use
I agree. Yeah,
it.
they lie. You know how they
Right,
lie.
right.
Oh, you know what? They freeze it, and then they can use it.
Yeah,
I'm sure Walter had one in South Africa.
with lion blood.
Lying, right. Hey, Johnny. Someone said there was a stabbing on Detroit in Second today. Walter mentioned it to me. You hear anything about it?
A stabbing? No.
No, that's Walter. Is that what you heard?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Detroit in second, right here.
Yeah.
I didn't even see any. I didn't see any police during
We
the
didn't
day.
hear, yeah, I was pretty much home all day, right?
That's what I heard. Maybe it's Detroit. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Okay, well, you look at the neighborhood thing.
I didn't get anything on the neighborhood watch.
On the scoop? No, I didn't see anything
Yeah,
on
the
the scoop.
scoop. No, nothing. And I didn't. I
Nothing.
was home all day, except for a few minutes out to Ralph's. I didn't hear any police cars or anything.
Okay, maybe it's a false rumor that I'm
Folks,
getting.
AI. That's AI.
I mean, it could have been helicopters early in the morning, but not over my house. And I know when they're over the house. Strange. What
Okay.
regards, everybody?
Who was that?
What?
¿Quién era? ¿Elin?
Yeah.
¿Qué estaba diciendo?
No, Walter was saying there was a stabbing here at Detroit in second, and we said we didn't hear anything. We didn't see nor hear. So
What?
okie dokie.
We're on Vav Amud Beis.
Exactly.
Bob at the beginning of Beza, we didn't get too far.
Top.
Maybe at the end of Bob Aleph, I remember.
Koshma,
Where is that?
the bottom of Vav Amud Aleph.
Yeah.
Daima Sutta Navamansula Beitrei. There was a battle that two people were arguing as to who owns it. Hayomer Didiu, Vayomer Didiu. Each one claimed it was theirs. Kam Chad Minayu Akadsha. One of them stood up and donated the bathhouse to the Beis Hamikdash. Parshi Minei Rav Chanina Rav Oshaya V'Kul Rabbanan. Rav Chanina Rav Oshaya and the rabbi stopped using that bathhouse because they weren't sure whether it was Hegdish or not. If they would use it, they would be Chayv Meila. Amar lo Rav Oshaya Rabba. Kiazos coming to Rav Chizda LeKapri. When you go visit Rav Chizda in Kapri, in Cyprus, boy minei, ask him, how should we paskin? Kiyasu L'Sura, on the way to Kafri, he went through Surah and told the story. Amar Rav Amnuna, Basnisni. This whole story about the bathhouse is our Mishnah. What Mishnah? Safek b'choyros. You have animals. We're not sure, are they a b'chor or not? Whether it's echad b'chor adam, whether it's a human, echad b'chor behema, bein tahorim, bein tmeim. If it's a kosher animal, like a cow or a sheep, it's offered as a korban. If it's a chamor, you have to trade it for a sheep. Now, if this bechor is owned by a Jew and it's a safek, hamotz mechaver lavaraya. Normally, what do you do with a bechor? You give it to a kohen, but we don't know it's a safek bechor. So if the kohen can produce proof that it's a bechor, then he can get it. If he can't, he can't. The Tani Allah, and on that baraisa was taught that meanwhile, when the Jew has it, asurin begiz of avodah, you cannot shear it, cannot shear its wool, you cannot work it because of the suffix that it's hegdish. Now Rav Hamnuna now claims v'hahacha de Omar takfo Kohen. Let's say the Kohen grabbed the animal by force. Ein motzino sumiyado. The din is we don't take it away from him. Since now the bechor is in the hands of the Kohen, the Jew has to bring proof to take it out of his possession. And similarly, v'chilo tokfo. So even if the Kohen had not taken from him, we say asurim begiz of avoda. The animal remains prohibited to shear or to work. So if there's a chalos in the kedusha, even if the Kohen takes it b'chazaka, there's a shtickle kedusha in it. That should be the same thing with the bathhouse, and therefore the chachamim were correct to not use the bathhouse. Omer le Rabba said that's not a proof. The two cases are not comparable. Kedushas b'chor ka'amrid. You're trying to bring me a proof from Kedushas b'chor? La'olam eim lecha. You can say by the case of Safek b'choris that Tokva Kohen, that if a Kohen grabbed it from the Jew, motzino somiyodo. There's no value to grabbing something and then we say the ownership changes. Number one, even prior to the coin taking it, we said you can't shear it or work it. Why? Even the kedusha ba meileh shiny. A bechor is not something that you have to declare to be hegdish. It's born hegdish. It's not, doesn't become hegdish through some kind of action. So Safek Kedusha of Bechor, it's not totally who owns it. It's the suffix of the facts. Was it firstborn or not? And until we know whether it was or not, I understand why it would be prohibited. But by a bathhouse which has to be declared hegdish, it's not going to, you don't have to worry about the Kedusha. It's not Kedusha Me'ela. Armle Chanila Rabba, Tanya de Messiah. You know what? I found a baraisa to support your concept that by a suffix bechor, it has a unique din. Where do we see it? It says in the baraisa, asfekos. Let's say you have an animal which is suffix, it's a bechor. Now there's a din of meiser behema that if you're growing cattle, every year the new batch of cattle are put into a corral. They're let out through a chute, one by one, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th is kosher, is hegdish with kedushas meiser. Now, a bechor is exempt from that. So, what about a suffix bechor? Hasfekos nechnosim l'dir l'sasher. You put them into the corral to count with the other animals. Now, if you're going to tell me that by a that a Kohen grabbed it, we say in Motzino Somayodo, he gets to keep it because I'm Motz Bechaver Lavaraya. Why would we say Amay Nichnosim Ledir? Why would we allow a suffix bechor animal to go into the corral? Nimtzazeh Poiter Mamonim B'Mamonishal Kohen. That this guy is using one of these animals to pater his meiser with assets that belong to the Kohen. Omer lei Abaya Imi Shema lo tesai lemar. It's not a support to Rabbah because Hachmai Askinon could go into Leslie Elatisha. We're talking about a case where they only ship 9 sheep. The who and this suffix because manifshach. Any way you learn it. Ibar chiyuv, if the animal was a regular animal and the bar chiyuv, so shapir komaiser, then he did good by putting it in the corral. Ilav bar chiyuv, if it was potter, because it has kedushas bechor, harei tisha lav bar aserininu. Then you end up with 9, but there's no chiyuv meiser if you only have 9. So he would not be chayiv to be meiser them. Even if he gave it, he didn't benefit anything. But Hadaram Abai, you love Milsihida Amri. It's not correct what I said, the Sfeik Lav Bar Surihu, that a suffix isn't put into the corral. If a person was doing Meiser and he hadn't counted up to 10, V'kofatz Echa ben Amenuyim, one of the ones that was counted already jumped back into the line. Kulan Peturim. So they're all potter. Even the ones that were counted don't have to be included. Because each one of these that have not been counted yet, it's a suffix if they were maybe counted already or not. So they're all the suffix and they're potter. If you're going to tell me that a suffix, for example, the suffix bechor, So la'asr mimonefshach. You could count it for the same reasons. The ibar chiyuv hu shaper meiser. If it is a bar chiyuv, he did a good thing by counting. If he love bar chiyuv, if it's not bar chiyuv, because you only have 9, niftar b'minyan ha'ro'ui. It would be potter meiser because it was at least part of a minyan that initially was going to count 10. Because Omer Rava, minyan ha'ro'ui potter. If you started counting sheep, and at the time you were counting them, you had 10, but then you couldn't complete it. One of them died, one of them ran away, and you don't have 10 left, it's potter because they were in the minyan that was roy to count. So either way, says the Gemara, the Safek Bechor would get off. Okay, Zayin Amid Aleph. Mario, are we going to do something here with the taping or what? Or just continue and it'll be labeled 6 and 7?
Yes, continue.
So, you know why we don't do that? Like we use the suffix, because when the Torah says to count meiser has to be vadai, not suffix, the law series suffix. Amar Ravacha medifti Ravim. My sfekis, when we say that we had some kind of doubt, what kind of doubt? Ilema savik b'choyros, that we weren't sure, maybe the animal was before, maybe not. The pasuk says, Kol masar bakar vatzon, kol asher yavor tachas hashavas hasiri, yiyeh kodesh l'Hashem. So, Amar Rachmana v'lo shekvar kodesh. You have to start off with an animal that's not kodesh, and you have to make it kodesh. So, if it was born with kedushas bechor, even misafek, kedushas meiser is not chal on it. So, what suffix are we talking about? El suffix pidyon petach hamor. The firstborn of a donkey, you can't give that to a kohen to offer as a korban because it's a non-kosher animal. So you trade it for a sheep. Now, let's say the man has a donkey, but he's not sure whether it was a bechor or not. And misafek, he redeemed it with a sheep. Now that sheep is a safek pidyon petach hamor. And Rav Nachman holds, Shom Rav Nachman Am Rav Ravua, Yisrael sheyesh la'asara safek pitrei chamor b'soch beis. A man has 10 sheep. It was a safek whether they are petr chamor. Mafish alein asara shayin. So he has to have 10 other sheep to pater him from the safek uma'asrin and give meiser from those. Vehain shalo. Now he doesn't have to give them to a kohen because the kohen is not going to be able to prove which one belongs to him. Now, my avi Allah de masuta. Now, what about the case of the bathhouse? Toshma, the Omer of Chia Baravim, Avu Uvdebe Rav Chizda. This case happened in front of Rav Chizda. The Rav Chizda Be Ravuna, Upashta Me'ah, he answered it from the following. Omer Rav Nachman, if you have some asset that Beis Din cannot take it out of the possession of the person who has it, Higdisho ain't a Kodesh. If that Balabais who's holding on to his Magdish, it's not Kodesh. And therefore, by the case of the bathhouse, also the Hegdish wouldn't work. Now, If Basin would have been able to take it out and give it to the guy, even though they just have a psak, they haven't physically removed it and given it to the guy. Somebody stole and the owner did not abandon hope. Shneim, the owner nor the gazlan, einam yicholim lagdisha. Zeh, the gazlan lefi shein shalot, that's not his. Zeh, the bailan lefi shein b'shuso. The person cannot be magdish something even that belongs to him if it's not in his bershus. So even if the dayanim could remove an asset and give it to him, since it's not in his reshus, practically he can't do it. A bathhouse is not metaltalin. It's attached to the ground. It's not a problem if dayanim could take that asset and give it to you. It's bershus kaima. It's not a metaltal. He has to have it physically. It's always in his reshus once they declare who the owner is, and therefore he would be able to be magdishik based on this final ruling. Tani Rav Tachlifa Bar Marava Kamed Rav Avo. Shnaim Adukim Betalis. Two people are grabbing onto a garment. Zenoitela Makon Shiyada Magas. One is holding on as far as his hand can go. And then there's a piece of the cloth in the middle, ashar, they can't reach that. That middle area, cholkin b'shavet, they divide it equally. And machvila ravavo b'shvua, that extra, they also have to divide with a shvu. So elamas nisan diktani de peligi be'adodi. So we had the original v'lo ktani zen noitel ad makom shira magos achim ishkachasla. There we didn't talk about somebody's arm extending all the way. So what's the case? Amrav Papa. The tfisi birchashta. They're holding on to the fringes. So they have to swear on the remaining that they're not holding on to. Avram Rishashi Shmamina, High Sudra. When you go and sell your chametz, Rabbi Kraus, he would take out a handkerchief and you'd hold part of the handkerchief as a symbol of a kinyan. So if you hold on to make a kinyan to the handkerchief, the one who's holding on to the handkerchief doesn't have to hand the whole handkerchief over. He can still be holding on to it. Kiven the toughest bay, kidei sholosh al shoshos etzbos. As long as he's holding on to 3 by 3 finger breadths. Karinim bay v'nosol l're'eyu. You fulfilled it. You gave it. We learn this from Rus. The pasuk says, "V'zos lefanim b'Yisrael, lekayem kol davar, shalav ish nalav v'nasad re'eu v'zos Torah b'Yisrael." The command the pasuk dummy. It's as if you gave it completely. The kani, even though the other guy's holding on to it. Now, why is this din? My shna. Dam Rav Chizda, if a husband gives a get to his wife and he puts it a get biyada, but it's still attached with a string, and the string is in his hand, u'mashicha biyada. Im yachol anatko lavio etzlo, if he can pull on the string and bring the get back to him, eina megureshes. The imlav, if he cannot pull the string and get it back to him, then megareshes. So implies if something is in your hand, you didn't give it. Yet we said by the Kinyan Sudar, even if you're holding on to a part of it, it's giving. So there's no comparison. Hasam krisus being veleka. By giving a get, you have to have a division. And the division is not complete if he's holding on to the string. By a kinyan suder, you need an act of giving. And even though the guy's holding on to 3 finger breaths, it's still considered giving. Amarabba. If the 2 parties are holding on to a garment and their arms extend to the middle of the garment, and there's still a piece of the garment that's out of their reach, and there is gold in the garment, that is divided equally between them. So the question is pshita. Why would I think not? Lo tzricha de Bava Metziah. The gold is in that middle portion. Neither one of their hands reach that. So the question is Hanami pshita. We divide it. Lo tzricha de mikra v'gabi dechad. The golden part of the garment is closer to one of them. He can't reach it, but it's closer to him. Ma'u the same the amarle plogachi. The one who has the gold near him will say, divide it to right down the middle. Most of the gold will be closer to him. We say, Kamash one, the amarle, my chazis the plogachi. No, divide it equally so each one of us get the same amount of gold. Shnai madukim bishtar. 2 people are holding on to a document that documents a loan. Malva oimer shalihu. This is an unpaid star, belongs to me, and the borrower hasn't paid me back yet. And why do I have it? Nafal mimeni umatz. Normally, the malva holds the star until it's paid. So when we ask him, well, how come 2 people are holding on to it? He says, it fell and I found it. Velove Omer, Shelcha, he agrees that it was his, but Paratilacha, I paid it. And you returned it to me, and I lost it. And now I found it. So, Yiskai Mashtar B'chosma. First, we make sure that the stars is certified with the Eidim, correct, and they fulfill the star. Whatever value, $1,000 loan, they divide because of the suffix. Im nafal liyadayin, if a dayan found the star, and the 2 parties dispute whose it is, lo yotziu alamis. The dayan doesn't give it over for use to be collected until someone brings proof one way or the other. Rabbi Yossi Omer hareu bechazkaso. The dayan can enforce the star. We do what is written there. This is the baraisa. The Gemara is going to analyze the baraisa. Amar Yiskai mashtar b'choisma. When we say you certify the star with the witnesses, and therefore what? Gabi le malva kule. And then what? What does the Rebbe mean? That you certify it and then the malva can collect? Maybe it was paid already. V'chiles le masnisim. V'shnai mochzim betalis. Shnai mochzim, 2 people holding on to a garment. What do we say our halacha is? They divide it. Each one takes a shvua. And each one gets half. By the star, we should say the same thing. Why should the malva collect on it? Rav Nachman b'makuyim. There was already a certification by Bezdin that they've checked it and found it correct. Such a document is like cash, like a dollar bill. And divrei hakol yachloku. Then they divide it. Ki pligi b'she'enu makuyim. It was not certified. Rabbi Savar, that the borrower moide b'shtar shekasu. Let's say the borrower admits that this star was written, and even if the love admits that it was written, you still tzarech l'kaimo. If it's going to be used to collect, it's got to be certified. So imakayim le'polik. So if they certify it, then they divide it. V'ilo makayim le'lo polik, and they don't divide it. If it's not certified. If they cannot find the edip to say that these are my signature, even the malva doesn't get paid, even if the lova admits that it was written. What's the reason of Rebbe? My time of the Rebbe. Chaspa b'almahu. A star is just is not worth anything if it's not certified. Man kamash v'delai shtara. Who gives the paper of a star its value? Lofa. When he admits that it was written and it documents the fact that he was given money. But since we depend on the words of the Love, Ha'ka'amar de Priya, and the Love said that it was paid, there's no value to this star anymore. So there's no point in dealing with it unless you're Mekayim it with its witnesses. But Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Savar, no, if the Lova admits that the star was written, then you don't have to certify the witnesses in court. And then the Malv and the Lova divide the amount that's documented in the star. But then we said, if if a dayan found it, he doesn't release it. So Maishla dayan. Why should it be different than if somebody else found it? Amar Rav Achikama. The Acher, a third party who finds such a star, Shematzu star Shenafal, that already had fallen into the hands of Eliyad Dayan, the Hechidami, what's the case? The cause of Behenpik. Henpik is when a dayan puts a certification that it's a good star. So then lo yotzi or lamos, then it shouldn't be used. Frankly, more, why not? The lama boy lo kosav behenpik. Let's say a star didn't have a certification. It's even more in doubt. The ikala meimar that the kosav Lilvos v'lo. Maybe the lova arranged for a sofer to write the thing, but it hadn't been funded yet. So why should we return the star to the malveh to collect on an unfunded loan? Elafilu kosav be'enpe. Even if there was a certification on the star that it was makuyim, lo yachzer, don't give it back to the lender. The chayshin the piron. Maybe he paid it, and he gave back the star to the lova, and the lova lost it. Rabbi Yossi Omer Areu b'cheskos v'loy chayshina, the piron. We don't worry that it was a paid-off document, because if a lova pays it off, he tears it up right away. He doesn't keep it around; it's dangerous for him. Is it true that Rabbi Yossi is not worried that maybe the lova paid off the star? V'hatanya, matzah star ksuva b'shuk. A person finds a woman's ksuba in the market. Bizman shabo moide. When the Baal says that he hasn't paid off on the ksuba yet, Yasser Li should give it back to the woman. Eina Baal moide. Maybe the Baal says I paid it already. Lo Yasser, lo lezev, lo lezev. You don't give it to either party. Rabbi Yossi Oimer, if the woman is oida tachas bail, if she's still married, Yasser Li Isha. Must be, if the woman is still living there, the Baal didn't pay her off. Now, if Nisarmala or Nisgarsha, if the husband died or she's a divorcee, then lo yachzer lo lezev lo lezev. Because maybe she received payment already. Must be, and so you see that Rabbi Yossi is concerned that there may have been payment that we don't know about. So Eipich, you have to switch the sheet of the Baraisa. Nafal yadai and lo yotzi olam es divrei Rabbi Yossi, because he is worried about secret payment. The Chachamim were not worried. Harehu b'cheskas. Yachi kasha d'Rabbanan d'Rabbanan. One Baraisa says they are worried. The other Baraisa says they're not. So really, Stark Suba Kula Rabbi Yossi. It's all Rabbi Yossi, there's no machlekes. B'chesrei mechsera. There's something missing. V'achi ktani. Eina bal moide. The Baal doesn't say that he admits that it was paid. Lo yachzer lo zev lo zev. V'amed v'ar mumishnis armlos nisgarsha. She was a widow or divorcee. Aval oide tachas bai lo yachzer leisha. If she's still living with her husband, you give it back to the woman. Rabbi Yossi oimer oide tachas bai lo yachzer leisha. But this arm lo nisgarsha lo yachzer lo zev lo zev. Rav Papa Omar, there's a different way to be mitaris. Lo tepo. We don't have to change the gears of the Baraisa. But rather, Rabbi Yossi l'divrayim d'Rabbanan karmelu. Rabbi Yossi is responding to the Chacham regarding Ishtar Ksuba. That what's the basis of the svara, and he's not concerned about payment. Lididi. According to me, I feel in this normally that's when a ksuba is paid, but he's not choishish even then. And you give back the star no matter what, whoever owns it. But lididchu, according to your shita, at least oideli miyas, admit to me that ba'oidetachas baila the isha. If she's still living with her husband, you can give it back to the woman. The labas pironu, you wouldn't pay a ksuba if she's still living with the husband. But for Armale Rabbana, no. Emer Tzrei Advisa, maybe he paid her bit by bit with cash, and she's keeping it. And maybe he actually paid her, and that's why he gave her back the ksuba. And if we give it back, she's going to collect it twice. Ravina Amar Lo Lamepach Kamaisa. Switch the first brisa, the case where the star fell to the diet, and the steer with the chachamim, time at Rabbanan Hacha by Ksuba, mishum the chayshinon, kosav shtei ksubas. Maybe he wrote 2 ksubas, and the one that was found is the first ksuba that was lost, and now he's gonna have to pay twice. But Rav Yossi l'shtei ksubas lo chayish. That's so rare for that to occur. He's not worried about that. Amar Rabbi Lazar, machlokas, when you're holding on to a star, 2 people, and you divide it, b'shnei madukim, that's one is holding on to the toifus, that's the boilerplate. Every star has the same language. Both are holding on to that portion. Or shnei madukim b'toiref. The toiref is the name, the date, the place, the amount, which is different. But they're both holding on to the same segment of the star. Aval, echad aduk b'toifes, ve'echad aduk b'toiref. Each one's holding on to a different part. You divide based on what they're holding on to. Zeh noitel toifes, v'zeh noitel toiref. V'Rav Yechon Amar Lo Olam Cholkin, you divide the whole thing. Afilu echad aduk b'toifes, ve'echad b'toiref. For more Vatanya, you only give them what they reach. Lo tzricha, this halacha of Rabbi Yochanan, eladekai torv beimotzi. The torv is in the middle, where neither of them can reach. Then you divide it, like we said, you divide the middle area. What's the chiddush? Lo tzricha, the merkav l'gabei dechad, is closer to 1. You might think, the one that was closer to plog divided down the middle, so it ends up with me. No, divide it a different way, and therefore they split the whole thing. l'Rabbi Lazar, noitel tofes, v'zen noitel tov, that each one takes what they're holding on to. The one who holds on to the toifus lamale, it's not worth anything. It's just the boilerplate. The chilotzra pitz l'chasutzach. What does he want? To use it to close up a bottle? You can't collect with the Torah. Armelo lidmi. We're talking about they do divide the money. How much is this worth? In the shtar, how much is that worth? Domer hachi shtar the ispeis man kamashavi. A shtar with a date is worth so much. With a less bezman kamashavi. And if it doesn't have a date, it might be worth less. Because bishtar the ispeis man kabi mishubadi. A shtar with a date, you can collect even from land that has been sold. The idich, a shtar that doesn't have zman, lo kabi mishubadi. It's only from metaltal or land that's directly in his estates. You have live hech the beni beni. You give them, they divide the difference between the two values. That's the achloku. The achloku namid amoron lidmei. We're not talking about dividing the shtar. We're talking about dividing what the shtar documented. Dilo temahachi shnai mochzim betalas ochanami the pligi. You divide the garment in two, and that's not worth anything. After that, you destroyed the garment. So what must be talking about is the value of the document, of the garment. The Gemara says, though, that is not a kasha. Haloi kasha. Maybe you'll say you do divide the garment. What is each one going to do with half a garment? The chazi, the ketanim, the children can wear it. Okay.
Yeah, Hank.